Welcome to the True Detectives podcast. Are you ready for another wild investigation?
Always ready.
Well, this week we're diving into the chaotic world of Detective Blackwood. This is the detective whose memory was, well, let's just say it was as reliable as a chocolate teapot.
You're not wrong. This guy's memory was more holes than Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
The sources we dug up paint a picture of a truly unique um, approach to detective work, let's call it. Forget your neat little evidence boards and timelines.
Oh, yeah, forget about that. We're talking about a guy whose office looked like a sticky note factory exploded.
That's one way to put it. But those notes, those weren't just reminders to pick up the dry cleaning or something.
Oh, no, absolutely not. They were his lifeline. Seriously, his entire mental world was held together by those little squares of paper. We're talking about a blizzard of notes here. Things like find wallet, B-day, and even one that said, don't pet the cat, allergic.
That last one makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Like, did he forget he was allergic? Did he forget he had a cat? Did he forget what a cat even was?
Maybe all of the above. But it gets even more interesting when you consider the case we're diving into today. It all starts with something seemingly simple. Missing keys.
You'd think, right, missing keys, what's the big deal? But for Blackwood, this wasn't just an inconvenience.
This was a full-blown craze.
Oh, yeah, full blown.
Yeah.
Because losing those keys meant potentially messing up his entire day. And even worse, it meant facing the wrath of his chief.
Who, according to the files, was not a happy camper.
Not at all. One source describes him as a grumpy chief breathing fire down Blackwood's impeccably disorganized neck.
Yikes. So what happens when a detective with a memory like a sieve loses something as vital as his keys?
Well, buckle up, because this is where it gets wild. He goes into what the sources call organized panic.
That's a perfect description. He basically relies entirely on this insane yet somehow functional sticky note system to try and retrace his steps.
It's like he's trying to crowdsource his own memory, but the crowd is just him from 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. And where does this sticky note trail lead him? To his sleeve, of course.
Of course. And what's on that all-important sticky note? Just a cryptic message that says, coffee run plus urgent meeting at park.
Short, sweet, and potentially life-altering. What kind of urgent meeting requires a sticky note reminder on your own arm, right?
That's the million-dollar question. So Blackwood follows his own trail of breadcrumbs, sticky note by sticky note, until he arrives at the park.
And what does he find there? Not a whole lot, actually.
Not at first, no. The sources describe a pretty ordinary scene. You know, kids playing, birds singing, no shady figures, just a confused beagle chasing its own tail. Nothing to suggest a detective drama is about to unfold.
Right. But then Blackwood makes a discovery. It's almost straight out of a film noir, except, with the beagle instead of a femme fatale. Under a park bench, he finds a crumpled note.
This note changes everything. It just says, witness saw it all, midnight. Talk about ominous.
It's like suddenly the stakes just went way up.
Oh, yeah, big time. And remember, this is a guy who already has his mental plate full. We learned from the sources that his active caseload was itself a sticky note masterpiece.
Oh, it was a sight to behold. A blur of Post-its missing dog, petty theft, the suspicious pizza delivery that somehow involved an angry mime.
Wait, a mime?
A mime. Don't ask.
Okay, I won't. But seriously, this saw-it-all note just throws a huge wrench into everything. How does a mime that's already juggling all those cases suddenly absorb this potentially massive new piece of information?
Well, that's the beauty of Blackwood's system. Or maybe the madness of it. It's hard to tell. But he dives headfirst into the chaos, following his sticky note trail wherever it leads. The sources mention these seemingly random, unconnected fragments that he encounters along the way.
Like what? Give us the juicy detail.
Okay, so we've got a grocery list, but instead of just milk and eggs, there's an item that says bread, eggs, alibi. Then there's an overdue library notice, which, who hasn't been there? But in Blackwood's world, it could be a clue to something bigger.
Or maybe he just needs to return more in peace.
Right, exactly. And then there's a sketch of a woman. But this isn't just any sketch. This woman has eyes filled with fear. It's a mix of the mundane and the potentially terrifying, all filtered through this sticky note lens.
It's like his brain is a pinball machine, and the sticky notes are the balls bouncing all over the place. You never know where they're going to land or what's going to happen next.
And speaking of pinball, let's follow that midnight note, shall we? It leads Blackwood to a classic detective movie location.
Let me guess. A dimly lit alley.
Close, but not quite. It's an abandoned warehouse. The sources describe it as thrumming with lurking shadows. Very atmospheric.
But I'm guessing not quite what you'd expect in a classic detective story.
You would be correct. Instead of a shadowy villain, Blackwood stumbles upon a scene that's more comical than threatening.
Okay, so no trench coat wearing bad guys.
Nope, none of those. What he does find is that Beagle from the park, a bunch of torn up sticky notes scattered everywhere, and get this, the Mime from his case files.
No way, the Mime.
The one and only. And he's not exactly having a good time? The sources describe him as gagged and struggling against his bonds.
Oh no, poor Mime. And I thought mimes were supposed to be silent.
Well, apparently not this one. He was making quite a fuss. But the situation gets even crazier.
It does. How is that even possible?
Just when you think it can't get any weirder, the woman from Blackwood's sketch appears.
The one with the fearful eyes.
That's the one. But she's not a damsel in distress. Not at all.
So she's not running from danger.
Nope, she's charging into it, head first. The sources say she was brandishing a half-gnawed library book like it was some kind of weapon.
A half-gnawed library book. That's a new one. And who is this book-wielding vigilante after?
You're not going to believe this. Her target is the Mime.
No way. The Mime is the bad guy.
Apparently so. She shouts at him, "You stole my thesis."
So we've got a detective with a memory problem, a gagged mime, a furious academic with a chewed-up library book, and a confused beagle running around.
Don't forget the sticky notes.
Oh, right, the sticky notes. It's complete and utter chaos.
And chaos is Blackwood's element. What happens next is straight out of a slapstick comedy. According to the sources, it's a comical chase scene. You've got Blackwood, out of breath and trying to keep up, the academic in hot pursuit of her stolen thesis, and for some reason, the beagle is right in the middle of it all, tail wagging like it's the best game ever.
So not exactly your typical tough detective takes down hardened criminal scenario.
Nope, not even close. But then comes the turning point, and it happens completely by accident. In a moment of pure clumsiness, Blackwood trips over the Mime.
Wait, he trips? He doesn't, like, use some cool martial arts move or something?
Nope, he trips, stumbles right over the Mime.
What happens?
Well, this seemingly insignificant stumble unleashes a cascade of events. As the Mime goes down, a bunch of those torn-up sticky notes he was carrying go flying everywhere.
Huh? The sticky notes strike again.
And within those scattered fragments, the truth starts to emerge. It turns out the Mime wasn't a master criminal after all. He was just a desperate dog owner, and those torn-up notes were his attempts to find his lost beagle.
So the Mime was just trying to find his furry friend.
Exactly. And once that piece falls into place, everything else starts to click. The stolen thesis, the petty thief, even that weird, wrong-address pizza delivery, it's all connected.
Hold on. You're telling me a pizza delivery is tied into all of this?
Oh yeah, it gets even weirder. Remember that petty thief Blackwood was investigating? Turns out they were using stolen sticky notes from the academic to leave cryptic messages for their accomplices in a robbery ring. And guess what? The pizza delivery was meant for one of the robbers, but they accidentally gave the driver the wrong address.
Wow, it's like Blackwood accidentally created this giant spiderweb of clues with his sticky notes, and he just snared a bunch of bad guys without even realizing it.
Precisely. Talk about unintended consequences. And just as this realization dawns, guess who shows up?
Oh, I know this one. The chief, ready to unleash his fury.
You got it. Picture this. The grumpy chief storms into the warehouse, expecting the worst. Maybe he's imagining Blackwood tied up with his own sticky notes, who knows. But instead, he finds this bizarre scene, a gagged Mime, a triumphant academic, a very happy beagle, and Blackwood looking completely bewildered by it all.
And a whole lot of sticky notes.
Oh, tons of them. But the best part, the beagle, tail wagging furiously, trots over to the chief and drops a tattered sticky note at his feet.
And what does this note of canine wisdom say?
Just 2 words. Alibi.
Perfect. Only in Blackwood's world. So how does our forgetful detective react to this chaotic trial?
Oh, in true Blackwood fashion.
Yeah.
He surveys the scene, shrugs, and says, "All in a day's work, Chief." Then what does he do? He immediately grabs a fresh sticky note and writes, "Buy more sticky notes."
That's fantastic. Priorities, right. What about the chief? What's his reaction to all this?
He just sighs. But the sources describe it as a sigh followed by the ghost of a smile. Like, even he has to admit that somehow Blackwood pulled it off.
Amazing. But wait, what about the original mystery? The missing keys that started this whole crazy adventure.
Oh, right, the keys. Well, you're not going to believe this.
Try me.
They were in the Beagle's basket the whole time.
Of course they were. Only Blackwood could lose his keys and end up solving multiple crimes because of it. So what's the takeaway from all of this? What can we learn from Detective Blackwood and his sticky note empire?
Well, the sources make a really interesting point. They say that Blackwood's forgetfulness, something that you'd think would be a major weakness for a detective, actually became his greatest strength. By constantly externalizing his thoughts, he was able to see connections that others missed.
He wasn't just a detective who forgot things. He was the detective who saw the connections in the chaos, the story behind the sticky notes.
Exactly. And in a way, isn't that kind of beautiful? He found a way to make his supposed flaw work for him.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What seemingly disorganized system in our own lives might hold surprising insights if we just look at it from a different perspective.
Food for thought indeed.
Well, that's our truly crazy story for you this week here on the True Detectives podcast.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We really hope this investigation into Detective Blackwood's world has given you a new appreciation for the power of unconventional thinking, and maybe even inspired you to embrace a little bit of chaos in your own life.
Who knows what you might discover?
Exactly. Don't forget to rate and follow the show for more true crime and true detective stories.
We'll be back next week with another amazing tale from the world of investigation.
Until then, stay curious and keep those sticky notes handy. You never know when inspiration might strike.
Or when you might forget where you put your keys.
Exactly.
See you next time.
Bye for now.